Welcome, everyone, to the Energy Advisors podcast. Glad to have you with us. I'm Rex, that energy guy. I'm your host. And on this podcast, we talk everything energy. Before we get started today, I want to remind you to listen to the last episode. I had the opportunity to interview a great guest. His name was Mike Kruger, and Mike is one of the thought leaders in the entire solar industry, in my opinion, after having a conversation with him. He is the executive director of the Colorado Solar and Storage Association. So go back and check out that. I guess it's time for me to start numbering these crazy things, but I've never been too much on that, but we'll get started. Okay, today's episode, really quick, is on a thought I had, an observation around EVs being a tool of independence, but with a caveat. All right, but before we get started, of course, we always want to talk about our partners in the show. We've got some great ones coming in pretty soon. We're thankful to have them participate with us. It makes the podcast reality. So I want to thank our friends over at Valor Solar. If you are interested in doing solar and you live in Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Nevada, or Arizona, Valor can help you out. They have integrity. I know them very well. Integrity matters because you have to get the right education. You have to be told the truth. And that needs to go all the way from the education to learning about it, implementing it, and then also maintaining it. So if you want to get in touch with them, just easy. Go to the website, Energy Advisors .today, and to fill out the form, we'll get you in touch with them. All right. On with the show. Who am I kidding? Well, I want to give you some background information. I want to talk about this because I think that EVs can actually be a vehicle or tool for independence. And, it's interesting because my opinion has changed. And one of the things that I've always approached in this business is practicality. Does it make financial sense? Does it make sense economically for me first, then socially, and then can it give me independence? So let me give you a little backdrop on this. I grew up on a ranch, with a ranch in my background. My grandparents had a very large cattle ranch, and anytime I wasn't in school or on a sports football team or something, soccer field, I was at the ranch and working like a dog. In fact, I call it the University of Hard Work, which was one of the greatest things. Anyway, on that ranch, we had this perspective. My grandparents were born in the early 1900s, lived through the Depression, and so they were taught to prepare. They basically had a cellar in the basement of their house, and I can remember it vividly. They weren't preppers or some kind of weirdo folks and stuff. They were just practical. So they stored a large amount of food there, canned things. They had 2 deep chest freezers full of meats and varieties of things to sustain. And literally, if things had gone to hell in a handbasket, they would have been able to survive for a long time. So that was taught to me and ingrained. And then also, too, in my church, we talk a lot about, and I teach it, and I'm actually kind of the guy that gets involved with the youth on this, about emergency preparedness. And so, having a 72-hour kit, being able to sustain yourself during an emergency, and hopefully that it's no longer than 72 hours at least, but also long-term preparation. So I'm not some crazy extremist in any direction. I think you need to be practical and all that stuff. So while I was doing my normal morning routine today, and it is February of 2024, I got to thinking about another angle on EVs that I hadn't thought about. When I decided to put solar on my house, okay, I was thinking about 2 main drivers. One, saving money. So as I get older, going to retirement age, I don't have a bill. Okay, that was one. So saving money. And then 2, independence. I mean, we live in a crazy world today. It's absolutely crazy. And the thing of it is that at any given moment, in a split second, all of our independence can be cut off if our energy sources are cut off. What if there was no more gasoline? How are you going to get around? What if all the service stations shut down? What happens if the grid goes down? Okay, now, again, I'm not an extremist. I'm not a member of the local prepper club. I'm not a guy that has every survival knife and a bug out bomb shelter and those types of things. I'm an optimist and a pragmatist. So I think things through. Well, okay. Another way to look at an EV, if you want to think about it, is it can be a source of independence with the caveat that you have some sort of power generation system on your home or business or property that creates the power. One of the things I kind of thought adopted yesterday after talking to Mike Kruger is when you're in the energy business, you're really in the business of moving electrons around, okay? Creating them, moving them, storing them. So if I have an EV and I don't have power generation, so if I don't have solar, if I don't have wind, I don't have something that's creating power, I have a nice appliance that I'm driving around and I'm consuming electricity. And in an emergency, it's no better than having a vehicle that has no gas. It doesn't help me. However, if I have a power generating system like I do on my own home, solar, and I want to plug in my vehicle and charge it every day, I'm independent. Okay. And then now I have fallen in love with this, the Ford F-150. One, because I'm a truck guy, just growing up in the West. And then two, it's bidirectional, fully bidirectional. So that truck can actually power my house. And it is such a big battery that they've put in that it could power my house for 10 days. Now, I don't want my neighbors to find out if the grid goes down. I want them running their extension cord over to my house. But if I have a EV that can be charged with my own power generation systems, I'm independent. I don't care if the grid goes down. Okay. And especially now about the bidirectional ones, because then your EV can actually power your house. And so, or you need mass storage, but there are very few situations that I would recommend buying some large mass storage device because of the expense and the limited size of the batteries. But that's another whole episode. We talked about that already. So I want you to think about that. Okay. Again, people would be surprised. A little bit about my background. I spent a year as an interim president of a electric scooter company here in Denver, tuk-tuk class. They're enclosed, three-wheel scooters, cool technology. But boy, the time wasn't right. I mean, we did everything we could think of to get adoption on those. And it was mostly eclectic people with very limited use case that were adopting those. But now the EVs are starting to grow. It's an interesting thing, but I've always been a skeptic. I'm just being honest with you. It has to make financial sense to me. I don't get into the politics of, ooh, this is, the ultimate device to save the universe. It's a tool, and it's one of the tools that contributes to it. Is the technology perfect? Not at all. Okay. Will it work itself out? Absolutely. That's the ingenuity of the human spirit and the human mind, and people are going to figure out those things. So it's a good first step. But right now, right here, right now, 2024, if I have my own power generation system and combine it with my EV, I have more independence than any other way of being able to get around and function in a mass emergency. And it's pretty cool. So think about that as you consider your choices. I'm always talking about my personal energy plan. People need to be thinking about this, something that they need to sort of, okay, wait a minute. Even if you're a huge skeptic on any of these angles, I think it's important for us to understand and get some education around that because, like Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And so I think it's interesting. I hadn't really thought about an EV being an independence device, and that's important to me. So until next time, don't forget to sign in and follow and subscribe if you're watching on the video platforms. Don't forget to follow on the podcast platforms. We're just about everywhere. We're about to put this baby up on Rumble, so it'll be even further distributed. and they're even going to start putting things out on X. So glad to have you with us. And until next time, as I say always, thanks and make it a great day.